Hello, survivors, and welcome to episode 10 of Ark News. Welcome, everyone. 10 episodes.
You've been
I
broadcast for 10 episodes.
I almost can't believe it. Here's to another 10. I must gather myself and welcome back my special guest. You've already heard him, William.
Thank you very much.
So in this episode, we're going to be talking about the present state of Ark and also Ark 2. So this is part 2 of our discussion on this article from the founders of Wildcard. For my viewers, if you want to refresh your memories of the whole article, the link is in the description to the article itself, or you can look back at part 1 where I read the article aloud for you. So I think we're just going to get started. So we're just going to dive in. So I'm going to quote from the article. So Ark has been an open-ended survival sandbox experience. We still maintain that, but we want to add a layer on top of this, sort of more directed experience. So, Will, how would you feel if Ark had a story or campaign mode?
Now, I wouldn't mind so much to have something more to do in the games, because I like open box survivals, because they are a lot of free roaming. But it has been that for, as I said, played it for 3 years, as I said in the last part. So to have something new to do would be interesting. Depends on how they do the story. That will be key.
Yes.
If it's going to be
so.
like the boss fights where it's basically an optional thing, you have to sort of enter a thing to do it, then that will be good.
I think
if on the other hand it gets thrust down our throats, it will ruin the experience of Ark.
I think for me personally, if there was a story mode or campaign sort of thing alongside the open sandbox that Ark is, I would want to be able to do it with my selected tribe, because I couldn't picture playing Ark or playing any part of Ark any other way, really. I don't think it would be right or feel right without being able to do it with my friends who I've been playing Ark with.
Assuming as Ark is a massive multiplayer online game, the option of doing it with your current tribe will be there. But you have to probably think they might do it a bit like GTA 5, where you have to try and find people to do it. Now, that's an okay system until people stop doing it or getting bored or give up or rage quit. So hopefully they will keep it with groups that you know, but even then you can do it with groups you know, it's not going to have to be complete strangers.
Or you could just do it by yourself maybe. But as I say, I just don't think it wouldn't feel like Ark if I wasn't able to do it with the people who I've come to know and in playing Ark over the years.
But then, of course, Ark itself, although it calls itself a sandbox survival game, it is all about the tribe. It's not really designed for one person to go it alone. Although one person could go it alone, it is designed to have at least a couple of other people in your tribe.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So I
So the
don't see
next quote,
why the campaigns will be any different.
no, I can't see that either. So the next quote I'm going to read is, so Wildcard had originally expected to be working on Arc 2 by now, but the success of Extinction and previous expansions changed its priorities.
Well,
So what are your thoughts on that?
I personally don't see a need for Arc 2. The problem I have is a lot of games, because I'm a gamer at heart, and I have played a lot of games, and sometimes the sequels do ruin the game itself. I mean, the classic example, I played a game called Empire Earth, which was a strategy game. The first
Hmm.
one was amazing. The second one limited you so much, it was just pants.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid Ark may follow suit. I'm hoping it doesn't. It might follow suit.
Whereas I've known the opposite to that, where the sequels have usually turned out better. Um, I can quote many examples. The Transformers Cybertron series. I mean, Fall of Cybertron was much better than War for Cybertron. For example, the campaign was better, the multiplayer was better. There was a lot of improvements. It was done by the same studio, same developers. Everything was done by the same people, but the everything was much better in the sequel. Um, and that was interesting. There's been a couple of Star Wars games, the Force Unleashed series. For me, the second one was much better than the first. Um, and also Star Wars Battlefront and Battlefront 2, the more recent series of the 2015 and the later 2017 releases. The Battlefront 2 was much better than Battlefront 1. So I've known the opposite to that, where the sequel has been much better than its predecessor. Um, but then again, that could just be my experience. I think
It all
my thoughts
depends how
on
Wildcard decide to go with
I
um,
think
Arc 2. I mean, another game which the sequel wasn't as good as, or in my opinion, the sequel wasn't as good as the original games, was Warhammer Dawn of War, where they started building a strategy game based in the Warhammer 40k universe. But when they brought up Dawn of War 2, it was centered around one character of a certain Space Marine chapter, and it became more of a role playing game rather than the strategy it was. But it does depend on what Wildcast. I mean, we're all hoping they're going to improve and learn on whatever mistakes they've made and bring out a better
yeah,
game overall.
I think at this present time they're slowly working on stabilizing their current game. During this uncertain time, I don't know if you've noticed this, William, that we have had some massive updates or patches, as they're so called, to the game, and these have been for some creatures which have been long overdue some updates. They've also been updating some issues like meshing and things like that, um, which and also but their main key thing is the way in which the reporting of these issues has been done, and it hasn't helped the community over the years, and it just hasn't create and that just hasn't created the best environment at all. Um, in terms of the community on Twitter, anyway. Um, so that's one of the things that they're trying to work on. Is trying to create the more positive vibes on Twitter, at least, and also work on the way that the issues are reported.
The
Because in the past, the issues weren't being reported as well. So
the fact that Wildcard is a yeah, like trying to work on reporting issues, and B actually bringing out patches for the game. Still, even this late into the game's release, is a
mm,
positive vibe. Unfortunately, you're always going to have the people that only
yeah,
look at the bad parts of the game.
yes,
Can't please everyone. Don't bother trying. It's not going to happen. But unfortunately, with today's modern technology and way of getting your voice heard, you're just going to have to deal with the bad publicity. I mean, the biggest thing I always say is play the game yourself. If you're interested in a game, don't let somebody else tell you that it's not good. Actually sit down and play
No.
the game
Yeah.
yourself. Which is why a good thing of the Xbox Pass coming out is a good thing, because it's a way of testing games without having to fork over money. I
Yeah.
mean, obviously you're paying your subscription to Game Pass, but you're getting 100 games for that. You can't tell me all those games aren't going to be something you're interested in. And when a game nowadays goes for 50, 60 quid, if you just find
Mm.
one game that you actually find interesting, it's definitely worth the subscription. And this has just become an advert for Xbox.
Yeah, a little. I wasn't going to say anything, but a little bit. You just want to
we're
mention
not,
that we are not
you know,
sponsored,
we're not
not
sponsored
sponsored
by
by
Xbox at
Xbox
all.
or Ark. Nope. No, I'm not. Nope. That doesn't happen. Not on this channel. Um, Nor are we sponsored by Ark, but go and play Ark. So, uh, next quote. So for Ark 2, we need to give players something new that they're not currently getting from Ark. Um, we're not quite sure what that is yet. We're not ready to talk about it, but we want to be unshackled from what Ark Survivor Evolved is. Um, so
Well, it's good
so the
that they're
question is,
thinking
what
about.
differences do you want to see?
Well, there we go. What differences do I want to see in Ark? Well,
In
I don't
Ark
know.
2, that is.
It's already got most things that I'm interested in. It's an open game. It's a very flexible game. Literally, you can do whatever you damn well please in it. There's no sort of structure and storyline to it, which I like. I mean, there is a
Mm,
story as we've discussed, but it is a bit up
yeah.
to you. I suppose I would like to see maybe more things to do in PvE,
Yeah.
like other games where there's certain things to fight. Some sort of big bad has taken over the Ark world, which you have to fight. Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I mean, for me, I would like to see a more defined story area. Maybe just to add something to do beyond just build, tame, survive. Just to add that little more something. But that's
maybe
just
maybe the creatures could be more variety in the creature. Not so much variety in the creatures, because obviously they're all dinosaurs. But maybe the T-Rex could have a special. I mean, he already has the raw poop ability, which is awesome. But maybe he could do something a little bit more than make everyone shite themselves.
yeah. Um,
Maybe if you can get a Carno that could do something a little bit different to what it does now.
yeah.
But then, of course, it
I
is
mean,
going
I
to
think
lean more towards PvP for that sort of thing. But if it was something in PvE, one of the I don't want to say big problems, but one of the things I have with Ark is once I've got my base and done what I want to do, I'm sort of sitting there thinking to myself, what to do now?
yeah, it is. I will agree. There is that kind of issue, but for me, there's one of those things where I sort of. I suppose this is kind of where me sitting around on Google looking up all these creatures constantly is just comes in handy because literally that's what I do with my spare time. Is basically when I came onto Crystal Isles, I said to myself I want to tame and look at and learn how to look after a new creature, and I made that I made that promise to myself that I was going to tame, breed, get to know a new creature of Ark, and I chose the Diploculus, which creature that is not known about. It runs away from you as soon as it sees you. So it's an interesting tame, um, that's for sure. But and I've got one so far. So that's one of the ways to keep it fresh is just to keep going for new creatures all the time. And I have to admit, the Torpedo is a brilliant creature for Crystal Isles as well. If no one's seen the Torpedo video, go check that out as well.
Definitely one of your better videos, that's for sure.
So at this point, because we're talking about sort of the present state of Ark, I want to mention Atlas. So for those who don't know, so for those who don't know, Grape Shot, which is basically Wildcard, released a pirate-based game. Now, for those who don't know the history, this was supposed to be an additional expansion to Ark. It was going to be a new undersea map, but it was cancelled and turned into a new game, i.e. Atlas. So now cut to a few months later, and we're in Genesis development phase. Genesis releases, Ark's generally happy. Now, I've been playing Atlas for a bit of a while, and so have my tribe, so that's why William says he loves Atlas, because he's been playing it too. But it was
currently on it.
Yeah, so while I'm streaming Ark, he's on Atlas. How funny is that? So while doing my research for this article, I was also looking at because I was looking at Atlas's patch notes, and just something wasn't quite adding up. And so what I found out was that all of the development team for Atlas were told that they would be working on Genesis Part 1. Now, given that Grape Shop and Wildcard are the same company, this didn't surprise me, but it's only been recently that the updates to Atlas have started again, which we've all noticed because they've added some curious things. Let's leave it at that, because we don't cover Atlas news on this channel, so we're going to leave it at curious things. And since then,
a mixed baggage for sure.
Yeah, for sure, mixed baggage. But it was only since they went through a hiring phase. Now, usually I wouldn't be worried, but about Atlas, but what I can see with Atlas is it's going to become a middle child, especially if they release Ark 2. If that's what they're gonna, if you can see the staff being told, oh, we want Genesis Part 1, we need it done now, just go and do that. Don't worry about Atlas, it'll be fine. That's kind of the attitude I can kind of see, and that does worry me about Atlas a little, because surely Atlas looks really good. I mean, okay, we don't cover Atlas yet on the channel. That is, I say yet loosely, because it is a game preview, and I'm not entirely sure what we're going to decide, what I've decided yet. I'm still
Atlas
thinking about
has the potential to be a really good game.
Great game. Yeah.
It's taken the things from Ark, which weren't so great.
Yep.
Brought them into a completely different scenario. It's still a sandbox survival, but there's more things to do.
Yeah. I mean, there's also the fact that, Atlas uses many of the features and a couple of updates from the Ark devs have spoken about bringing to the game. So things like that really nice feature that we all like, where you have a wall and you have all the different wall types when you build that one wall. That's supposed to be in Ark.
I mean, one of the biggest things I know you're saying this isn't an Atlas channel, and it's not, but as we're talking about it, is the way of using snap points. In Ark, you have to basically try and find your snap points.
Yep. We all know that story. We all know you can't find the snap point. We've all been there if you've played Ark. We've all been there.
In Atlas, if you press your LB bumper, it will cycle through the snap point, showing you ones available.
Button, or the assigned button if you play other
Of course.
if you play other consoles.
Of course, I
Sorry.
do apologise. So yeah, the assign button, it will cycle through the various snap points.
Mm.
So obviously you can see if A, it's possible to put the thing where you want it, and B, it's easier to get it in the position you want it in.
And it also shows you actually which way round the wall will be.
Yeah.
So you don't, if you place it wrong, it won't. It shows you, you know, if it will show you how it looks, like with the actual texture, which I think is nice, and I haven't noticed that on Ark. But as I say, we don't cover Atlas yet.
Give it time. Give it time.
But as I say, in this kind of scenario, I do worry for Atlas. But as I say, hopefully, Atlas. As I say, I want
I'm
Atlas to
hoping
thrive.
this new team they've hired, which have seemed to be a lot more active in the community and bringing a lot more to the game, is going to be specifically for Atlas, and therefore it won't be this awkward middle child that's only half grown up and never gets released.
Yeah, and as I say, I want Atlas has got a lot of potential with it, and it looks great. It's the idea is there. It's generally thinking, generally looking at it, it's great, and I'd love to see it thrive. And as I say, I have Atlas, so I want that to continue on. So, and who knows, I may start covering Atlas soon. Watch this space.
So they can't see
So,
your face, Jacob.
I said watch this space.
Alright.
So moving on from that discussion, I want to. There has been some actual Ark news other than this article, and I just want to go through those highlights quickly, just to cover what's been going on in Ark in general lately.
Sorry.
So, Crystal Isles has finally been released on console. Hooray!
It's awesome!
It's really good. We've been playing it. I love it. I've already got a few bases on there. As you can see, the tour's been going on for the past 2 episodes. So, so you've got a full extensive tour, ending in the desert, where all the lovely things are. It's a wyvern. So yeah,
Probably mine.
Yeah, I'll be talking, and hopefully the next one, I'll be talking more about Crystal Isles soon. Because obviously we'll be covering some Crystal Isles news and going more in depth into that soon. TLC3, so that's the Tender Loving Care updates, should be coming around the end of the year, and in the Community Crunch 237. So that was last night, in actual fact. It was confirmed that one of the 2 creatures that will be getting a major update is the mammoth.
About time.
So that's only one of the 2 creatures that has been confirmed. I think the other one might be the Giga, just because of recent rumblings from said. But as I say, that's from the community manager. But as I say, until I have confirmation, we'll go from that. Genesis Part 2 coming out on March 2021 with the locked release date. They are planning an extra live stream, just like with Genesis Part 1 and Extinction, and probably all the others, but I only remember Extinction and Genesis Part 1 because I was around then. That should happen at the end of. That should happen at the end of this year, most likely around October or November time. Patch notes. I'm gonna post a link to the latest description in the description for the latest patch notes. We mentioned before, they're large updates, constantly. They contain a lot of detail, which, funnily enough, I'm not going to bore you with. So.
And the crowd goes wild.
So sponsored mods, we mentioned it in passing. Some more sponsored mods got sponsored by Wildcard. please bear in mind that the sponsored mod program does not guarantee that it will be coming to the game. So those who have seen a certain other YouTuber's video and believe that Ark was going to release an Indominus Rex creature, this is false. So yes, that's not happening. Just want to stop disparage any rumours there of that. So that's all for this episode of Ark News. That's it for part 2. I would like to thank William for joining us on this massive 2-part special.
And I would like to thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. I'm sure you'll be back again very soon.
I can count on it.
I'm sure. So see you all soon, survivors.